Hey folks, it's Lindsey Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions back in the building in a familiar place, but with some faces that are familiar to some. And if they're not familiar, hopefully at the end of this broadcast, they'll be very familiar. I'll start with the gentleman on the bottom, but definitely a guy who's always on top is my guy, Jodie Clemons. Jodie, what's going on? How you doing, man?
What's up with you, brother? Appreciate
Good.
you having me on.
Man, no question. I'm happy that you've been on before. I think we've had a couple sit downs and conversations we have even off camera always positive and productive. The only reason I want to get to you first, I want to kind of make the man of the hour be Mr. Malachi Davis. It's time to give him his flowers. This young man is doing some outstanding things with Holt High School, defensive end in his junior season, wrapping up his junior season, but a commit to Syracuse University. We got an Orangeman sitting right here with us, man. How you doing, Malachi?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on tonight.
Yeah, man, I had to have you on, man. I saw on social media through the work you were doing with Jodie and his training, and he's always training up the young man really well. And I was just really happy to hear about that. And I think for a lot of people, there was a surprise. This is not a slight to Holt's football program, but, not relatively known nationally as a quote-unquote powerhouse again, but for you to get that opportunity. So what I want to do today, for those who are checking in with us, and you guys can definitely send notes. We'll put your comments up, answer questions, and not only talk about what really got you to this point that you are right now, Malachi, and you getting that opportunity from Syracuse and taking it, but also having a broader conversation, especially with Jodie, his background, his personal experiences, and just him being someone who always is kind of thinking forward that this can be an educational opportunity as well. So Malachi, not only will you be getting your roses right now, or getting your oranges, I should say, right? Also, we will be helping some people going forward. But let's introduce people to who you are. Tell us who Malachi Davis is, and don't worry, man, we got nothing but time. I want to hear your story.
All right. So I started playing football in probably about second or third grade. I played with Capra Express my whole life from like second grade all the way up until eighth. And that was what really started football for me. I think from a very young age, I got instilled with some of the key factors in football, being toughness, knowing how to work hard, stuff like that. And it's just been instilled for me from young age, and it's still paying off now. Even in my high school years. And then I went to Okemos. I went to Okemos for about 3 or 4 years, and then my 8th grade year, I transferred to Holt. I had already lived in Holt, so it wasn't a big move or anything. It was just, a new area, new people, stuff like that. And, the moment I got into Holt, they were all, they took me right into a family. We got right into, getting the chemistry together. Those guys, I know them like they're all my best friends, the whole team. So, it's just ever since I came to Holt, it's been, we've been getting better and better in everything we've done. We just won a district title in basketball. We just went to the regional semifinal in football this last year. So it's been on the upcoming. It's as far as whole athletics, and I'm glad to see it. You can see the communities behind us a little bit more, and I'm looking forward to next season.
Great, very well said. Want to just jump in there a little bit. Even when you made the transition from Okemos, talk about that, because what we're hearing right now, and Jodie, you know about this all too well with your college background, is this portal thing, the transfer portal, and a lot of student athletes moving around. So it's not to talk about any bad reason why, but just talk about what went into the decision of you having that relationship at Okemos for some time, which is a great school academically, great athletic program. Shout out to them. Done work with them in the past. What led to your decision to make a change? Because I'm trying to get into the mindset of what moves people may have to make to be in a situation like you're in, if that makes any sense. And Jodie, I'll get you to chime in on that overall too.
So starting off, everybody, I had been at Okemos since like 5th grade, I think. So I was, those were my people. And it was definitely not a decision I wanted to do. But when it came to like the football side of the aspect of it, I didn't feel like Okemos had, what it needed to get it done, for me on the recruiting stage. I wasn't feeling like I would have enough eyes on me. We weren't going to be winning games. And I was in a special position because I was already living in Holt. So it wasn't we had to move anywhere. We had to worry about sitting out, which was also, a lot of struggles that some kids have when they're getting ready to move. But it was super smooth on the transition. It happened right in the middle of the summer, right in the thick of football season. in the summer. So it was pretty easy in terms of transitioning, but it was definitely not something I wanted to do. I'd been, with those Okemos people for so long, and it was just, I'm still close with, everybody from Okemos. So, no hate or anything towards them, but it just fit me better to be at Holt.
Yeah, I get it. And, and to that point, I'm glad you said that. And for anyone who's tuning in right now, we are not bashing anybody's program, or anything like that. What we're trying to do is just talk about this process, because at the end of the day, you want young people to end up where their best, they got their best fit. And I'm kind of using Jodie's terminology. I'm going to bring him in. But I just want to kind of keep that out there, because it's so easy to get focused on the negative aspect of what's going on. But Jodie, why don't you reintroduce yourself to some, introduce yourself to others. Just give us your backstory a little bit and kind of lead us up to the point now where we're talking about Malachi and the decision he made, and kind of getting into this old idea why you might have to make a move at time to get what's really best for you.
Jodie Clemons, Lansing, Michigan, Sexton High, three sports star, full ride scholarship to Indiana University. What he said is valuable information, because what you're hearing is kids now are making business decisions at a young age. So he saw that, yes, these are my buddies over here at Okemos, but at the same time, athletically, I'm trying to reach a different level, and I feel like I have a better opportunity at another school. So that's what you're starting to see more and more, not only with Malachi, but you're just starting to see around the country, that kids are putting themselves in positions to make better business decisions to get them to maybe a bigger scholarship, more looks, more exposure. The whole like basketball in Michigan, we don't have we have rules or certain things in basketball where kids can't travel certain places or whatever it may be for basketball. So different, like, people are leaving the state. Some of the top players in basketball are leaving the state to go somewhere to get better opportunities, and that it just is what it is. And it's smart, you know what I mean? Especially when it pays off. It's a great decision that he made, that he said, this is what I want to do. And not only when you get there, obviously, you have to make a couple of adjustments, but he was already living in the area, so it wasn't too bad of an adjustment for him. So now you just got to take care of your part, and he was able to do that. So that's the biggest thing.
Right. I want to stay with that for a second, Jodie. You make some excellent points. Talk about for the parents that are listening, when it comes down to determining, is this the right move to make? Because in Malachi's situation, it worked out. It wasn't like there had to be a huge moving situation. You didn't have to leave, go to the other side of town. But how do you really decipher, should we even do this? Not necessarily that I want to, but what are some of the things that you can check the box to say? Because everybody shouldn't be making that move, I would think, right?
No, absolutely not. Some people make the move and they're in a worse situation, just because you was the big dog at your school, and then you go over to another school and you barely cracking the lineup. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of kids, they just see, well, it's better over here. Well, there's a little bit of a politic game that plays into it too. When you're not from a certain community and you didn't grow up in that community's programs as a younger kid, sometimes, there's some parents that don't put a couple of coins in this program.
Shekels, a few shekels.
Longevity. They don't put a little bit of coins in these programs from a younger age, and to get kids that's leaving their area or their neighborhood or their community to come over to other schools, sometimes it's not accepted. You know what I mean? So,
Jodie, can I just stop you on that for a second? I kind of want to emphasize that point. And Malachi, I want to bring you back in. We laughed about people putting some coins in the shekels, but there's something to be said about someone who made an investment, and whether right, wrong, or indifferent, when these athletic directors, these coaches, these other influencers, or these programs are making decisions, they're like, hey, man, my man been here, and there's something to be said about that. And again, people can argue whether that's right or wrong, but can you kind of emphasize a little bit more about how that does play a role in some people's case? And then Malachi, I'll get your thoughts on some of those things too.
Yeah, it plays, a role big time for the kid, for the parent, for the coaches. I've been in situations, I've been in those meetings. And like I said, when you have a kid who's actually put in, the time from a young, program, he has, the leg up, I guess you could say. But in Malachi's case, I mean, there's not too many kids walking around looking like him, meaning like he passes the eye test. When I always tell kids like, hey, there's a certain criteria that you have to meet the way you look to play D1 ball. No knock against you. I'm not knocking you statistic wise, but I'm just telling you that there's certain look that you have to have when you want to play high level Power 5 D1 ball. And it's no disrespect to you, but some people just don't win the genetic lottery. It is what it is. And
Speaking
so
of genetics, what's your size and weight right now, Malachi?
Right now I'm 6'5", 240.
Hold
as
on,
a
man.
as
Hold
a
on.
junior, you see what I'm saying?
I don't turn 17 till August.
And he said it with his chest too, Jody.
Yeah, he
Jody,
did, with some bass in his voice.
I had some tech issues, man. I was really trying to get that clip that you guys had. Shout out to Reggie Austin. Reggie, it's my guy. He put that awesome clip of yours together, man. You was getting it in, but I know anyone who's on your social media, Malachi, can look at that. Jody, in between you and I bumping down in the post playing basketball, you was telling me the story about how this kid doesn't quit, how he doesn't give up. Can you kind of introduce us to that concept? And Malachi, I want you to pick up where Jody is, talking about, his motor and his attitude. Oh, and by the way, our guy Keith Tate says unfair, and I'm sure that was because of the 6'5", 240 comment. And I know what that's about. With Keith, it's okay, man. Some people Kyle might be that big, Keith, so don't trip. It's gonna be okay. Shout out to Keith Tate.
Yeah, it's rare. It's very rare these days and age where, number one, where you can run into parents who are very supportive and willing to invest in their kid, to whether it's financially or transportation, the dedication that his parents has to get him to his weight training, to his practices, and to work out with me is second to none. So that's number one. Number two, quick story. He came and worked out with me. He was a little tired that day. I could tell he's a little tired. And I just asked him, are you tired? He's like, yeah, I'm a little tired. I said, well, what'd you have, going on today? And he just said, I'm doing weight training in the morning. And then I did basketball practice. And then I came over to you. And so I was like, oh, okay. So you mean to tell me I'm the last thing on the list? Like, this is the third thing you done did today? He was like, yeah. I always try to keep it real with my guys that I'm working with, very transparent. I'm like, there's a fine line between mental toughness and stupidity. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful, because I don't want you to be in a situation where you're overtraining, even though you're young and you feel you're strong and invincible. You can't, tend to say, you're doing too much. So I was like, we can taper back what we doing over here so you can, perform at a high level at those other things. And then he looked at me with a straight face and he says, well, I don't want anybody to outwork me. And, it was one of those moments like you remember Harlem Nights when she told him that she loved Richie and he had a tear come out of his eye.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I'm like, yo, I can't believe this kid just told me that he doesn't want anybody to outwork him. And it's rare. I mean, it's rare out of all the kids that I work with. There's only a special few that have that type of mentality that says they don't want anybody to outwork them. And so I was shocked. I didn't have a rebuttal. I mean, what do I say to a kid that says it? I mean, what do I say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What do you say to that?
Yeah, I don't have a rebuttal.
Malachi, when you hear that comment, man, first of all, talk about, your mindset to go from, this be your third event of the day, and Jody's no pushover, no doubt, when y'all get in there and work out. Talk about your mindset going into that, and also talk about, what it meant when Jody told you, hey, man, you might have to back off of that.
Well, I kind of figured he was going to say something like that because he's always, wanted me to stretch and wanted me to do all that, loosen up my hips. So I expected that from him. But, I feel like from a young age, my dad instilled in me hard work. And, like, if you're not working, somebody else is. And so, I may not be the best player right now, or, like, you may be better than me right now. But I feel like in the end, in the long run, like, with my hard work, there's nobody can be better than me. So, you may be better than me now, but I will outwork you.
I love it. Jodie, I want to bring you back on that. Let's talk about, let's not take for granted where he's going. I mean, going on to a program like Syracuse University, I just know off the top of my head, they produced Donovan McNabb, soon to be Hall of Fame quarterback, and that's old stuff. So I'm just talking about the progress and the impact of that program. Tell me this, man. He could be a nice guy, good parents, great grades, and look the look. But if he ain't putting out what they need him to put out, they're not bringing him there on scholarship. I'm right with that, right?
Yeah.
So talk about the importance, man, of beyond all the look, talking right, the swag, really putting in work to make somebody say, you need to be our guy.
Well, it's a very long, strenuous process. What people don't realize when you're going to that next level is if you think you're working hard, yes, you are, but there's another level of working hard at the next level. Your scholarship was a decision that a coach had made as investment. So if you're not getting the return, should we say, in that investment, somebody has to answer for that. Now what I mean by that is somebody's getting X amount of millions of dollars to coach this program. All right. So you got to say, if you're not performing, he can't feed his family, because guess what? If they have a team that's not up to par, then who doesn't have a job? So, of course, when you got that type of environment, there's always hostility. There's always, and it's just an environment for competition. It's a feeding frenzy.
You mean it's not like those football coaches that get $5,000 stipend at the end of the football season in high school?
Oh, no.
Like that?
Oh, no. No, this is real deal. This is serious business. And so because of that process, a lot of people, they don't have the mental capacity to make it. I don't care about your physicality, I don't care about any of those attributes. At the end of the day, this is mental. So there's going to be times, and I always tell every kid that I ever worked with, I said, you know what, at certain points in times in this journey in playing college football, you're not going to like it. You know what I mean? You're not going to like getting up at 5 a.m. to go work out. Some days you just like, man, I'm really tired. I just, certain points you're not going, and then you're going to have to go to class, and then you're going to have to actually go to class and actually get solid grades. All right. So let's not forget that point. And then you're going to have to perform on the field. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of things that a lot of people just aren't equipped to deal with. That mental side of actually being Division One Power Five. You know what I mean? Power Five.
What do you mean when you say Power Five for those who may not know, who need to be educated on that?
So we're talking about the upper echelon conferences, the 10, SEC, ACC, Pac-10, Big 12. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. The biggest money.
And that's what guys who play there on Saturday, those are the guys that end up playing on Sunday.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yes, for the most part. Absolutely. And so, we just try to, I know anybody I work with, they know I try to keep it, just as funky with them. Tell them everything that they're going to expect. Try to lay it out for them, everything. And then when we're training, I always tell every kid, I'm not training you just to survive. I'm training you and I'm preparing you with techniques that's not only going to prepare you for Saturday, but it's going to prepare you for Sunday as well, if you're blessed enough to make it to that level.
And Jodie, I know you're a humble guy, but you can speak to that. Not only did you do an excellent job at Indiana, you experienced what that pro level was like. You know what that is. You're not just talking. You know what it takes and you're always sharing that. So, Jodie, I want to hold you there because I want to bring up another great question by our guy Keith Tate, my former podcast buddy. Shout out to Coach's Culture, and this is a great question. I'm going to start with you on it, Jodie, and I want you to start thinking about it too, Malachi. Keith said, "Can the youngin speak to his parents? The difference between support from parents versus any pressure from parents." Is there any pressure? So I'm going to let you get your thoughts together on that, Malachi. But let's talk to you about that, Jodie, as a whole. I know you got all kind of people want to come to you and request your services for your training, which people are available to do to get that. We want to better get that out there. But everybody may be coming. Their kid may not really have what it takes, but they want you to make them into a Malachi Davis or something like that when that's not the case. Because you talk about the difference between support versus pressure. And then I want to ask you what you think about that too, Malachi. Hopefully you don't say the wrong thing. Your parents come drop kick you on the video because they right outside the door. But go ahead, Jodie. Great question, by the way, Keith. Appreciate that.
And I'm gonna keep it as real as possible. You would think with my track record and what I've done and who I work with and things like that, you would think that they will be tearing down the doors, but I don't get a lot of requests, you know what I mean, to be honest, and I don't go out and overly try to seek, kids to work with because, I always say that's not my career. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that I do to try to get back, help. So that's not like my life goal is to, train kids all day. That's not my career. That's not the ambition behind it. And I always say, hey, I got mine and I can help you get yours if that's what you want. But I don't go chasing around parents or different things like that. And I get a lot of parents who talk like they want their kid to come get down and work out. But a lot of it is just hot air. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So I know the guys that actually come and stick around are really serious, and I'm going to push them to that level. But as far as the support, the ones that I do work with, it's all supportive. They just give me free reign to kind of do whatever. Like, hey, whenever your schedule is free, we love to work with the kids, and things like that. And that's like, hey, I'm all for it, and so everybody that I typically work with, the parents are very supportive. They're not in the way, telling me what should be done or anything like that. It's just more like a quick text of scheduling. Can we work schedules out? My little young dog, little bird that I work with, little truck, we call him. He's consistent. He's only an 8th grader, you know what I mean? And he knows the game, the terminology more than most kids that are juniors and seniors.
Wow.
You know why? Because I taught him that. You know what I mean? I taught him, I'm teaching him how to not only be a better athlete, but I'm teaching him how to be aware. I'm teaching him of what to see, his vision. I'm teaching him things that most people as coaches during the season don't have time to do. This is why Malachi is working with me, because his coaches can't give him the time that they need to give him in the season because there's so much to do during the season. So he came to seek me, you know what I mean? Which is crazy. Short story about that. Somebody at my job was like, hey, do you work with that kid from Holt? And I was like, no, I don't work with him. He's like, he's really good. I was like, yeah, I know he's got some buzz going around in the city. I was like, but I would love to work with him. I'm like, man, he's a dream to work with. I said, he's very raw. I've seen him play. I was like, he's raw, he's talented, but his techniques are, a little flawed because you could tell he's raw. And so I said, man, it would be really lovely to work with that kid. And then a week and a half later, I get a phone call from his little league coach that says, man, I got this kid, man, and he's looking to work out. And I can't send him to anybody but you because I know you'll do what you need to do to get him where he wants to be. And so it was like, one of those things, divine intervention or whatever you want to call it, that I get an opportunity to work with this young man. And he's a great young man. And I told him before, I said, you just did something to show your parents the ultimate level of appreciation. You just earned $100,000 scholarship.
Like that's
something.
gonna turn into a vehicle for you instead, huh, Malachi?
It should. I mean, it should. It really should. You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's dope. Well, on that point, Malachi, I'm definitely going to bring you in. Quick thing, I want to shout out Nicole Sharp. She said these kids need more men like you. That's referring to you, Jodie, I'm sure. And also, Chris Fitzpatrick said Jodie Clemons is a great trainer and needs to be given this props for what he gets out of kids. Let me just say this too, Jodie. This is a little bit on a personal note. I feel you with the work I do as a sports psychology consultant and also the work you do. People aren't beating down our doors, but I was just on a call with one of my new clients. She's a college softball player. And to your point about having those other things to do, as we were talking, she looked to her right on her board, and this is for you, Malachi, at all the stuff she had to get done. And she was like, whoa, it's a lot of stuff going on. So twofold with that. Once you get to school, there's a lot of work to be done. And secondly, less is more. It don't got to be a whole lot of people beating down our doors, because I'd much rather have the clients that I work with who are, preparing to be in the Olympics, who are doing great things on a collegiate level, doing things like Malachi is. So for people out there, you ain't doing me no favor. You ain't doing Jodie no favor by pump faking, talking about what you want to do, because we're going to be all right. We're going to do our thing, whatever or not. We got Kevin Marshall, my guy, Coach Kevin Marshall, Bearcat Country, representing. Yes, sir. They just won their district. That's Kevin Marshall of the Bridgeport Bearcats, also a football coach. I got nothing but appreciation for you and what you do, Jodie. But Malachi, let me get back to that original question.
Yeah.
You can talk about your parents, particularly from pressure, non-pressure, but also what advice can you give to other parents out there about the difference between pushing your kid? Because we know, Jodie, everybody wants to live vicariously through their kids so many times, and they want their kid to do what they were unable to do. But just talk about that a little bit, Malachi.
So one thing I do gotta say is, like, from the beginning with the whole football thing, like, my parents have like left it up to me for the most part when it comes down to my major decisions. Like when it came down to Holt, like moving to Holt or Okemos, they were okay with it. So then the decision came to me. Their big thing is whatever happens in my football career, they want it to be all on me. It's all my decision that, I can't blame them for anything going wrong or anything like that. And so from the start, they've just been letting me have my own career and make my own path. And then when you talk about the difference between pressure and, stuff like that, it's different with every kid. You know what I mean? Some kids can take that extra pushing from their parent, and, some kids can only take it from their coach. So it always varies when it comes to the kid and how they handle that type of stuff. But for me, my parents, they had been nothing but supportive, and that was one thing I really appreciated in the whole situation. Letting me make my own decisions, and knowing that when it came down to committing to Syracuse, like the day I told my parents, they said, whatever is up to you. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't want to have any input on it. It was just up to me. So, they were super good throughout this whole process.
Well, that's awesome. I want to shout out Tyrell Akins, if I'm saying the name correctly. Keep up the great work and love the family. We're going to get to Travis Neller's question. Travis, that's a great question you posed. We're going to bring it up in a second. But hold on for a second. Before I let you go on, you saying your folks was like, hey, you can make your own decision. Clearly, Jodie, there's a level of maturity with this young man that's far beyond many. Because it sounds like are your parents even
home?
Are they even in the country? Or they just say, we about to go out the country for a couple months. Here go the keys. I mean,
they're actually not home right now. So it's just me.
But I'm saying, clearly you possess a level of maturity, Malachi, that we can respect and appreciate. Let me ask you this. What have you done over the years to gain your parents' trust like that? And that could be for any student athlete listening and say, man, what do I need to do to get my parents' trust to be able to be in this situation?
You got to show them that this is something you're serious about. If they don't think that you're taking this stuff seriously, how are they going to be able to trust you to make your own decisions? From the moment I got to high school, I knew that my one goal was to get a Division I scholarship, and Ever since they know I've been working as hard as I could towards it, so they trusted me in my decisions.
Let me ask you this on that point, and I'm going to bring you back in a second, Jody. Also to bring in Travis's great question too. Here's the thing: a lot of guys say they want D1 scholarship, and I'm not saying they don't. You see where I'm going, Jody? They say they want it, but there comes a time when they say, "Hey, man, this is what you got to do to get that." So tell me about the time when you kind of saw, oh, this is what it takes. Not saying that you weren't ready to keep going with it, but talk about when you recognize what it really took to get a D1 scholarship and how you made that decision and lock in on that. And also shout out to my guy, Roland Patterson. Hey, I appreciate you, fam. Hey, let me tell you something, Jody. This Roland Patterson, he probably still jumping out the gym, but my man would be jumping out the gym all the time. Shout out to him and all the field and crew back in Detroit. But now let's talk about that transition. And then, Jody, I want to talk to you about Travis Neller's question about the importance of playing two sports. And, of course, Malachi, I'll let you talk about that. But talk about that moment, Malachi, when you like, oh, this is what it takes, if you even had that moment.
Oh, well, to be honest with you, my goal was, what I thought, when I was being realistic with myself, I said I was going to go to, a GVSU or, a Davenport type of school. And it wasn't until I had just been working.
What age were you or what grade were you when you were saying that?
This was my sophomore year. So this is, I was only playing offensive line. And I was just like, if I get a GVSU or Davenport, I'll be happy because, I'm coming from Holt. Nobody again. I don't have anybody to look up to that's doing stuff like this. Nobody's going.
Yeah, you can only be what you see.
Right. I'm seeing guys go to GVSU and Davenport, so I'm thinking that's where I want to go.
And don't mean to interrupt. Davenport was doing a real big push, right, Jody? As of recently, Davenport was doing a huge push. And that's not knocking them, but they were like, they had the money, they were coming in, they were doing a real big push right now. But go ahead, Malachi. Sorry.
And so I think I got first time I talked to Central Michigan. I had no clue how any of this recruiting stuff worked. I had nobody in my family that ever did it around now. I had nobody around the school, nobody really I knew. So this was really just all me, going off, stuff I see on YouTube or, stuff like that, learning it all for myself.
And you're probably like most people, right, Jody? Who knows how this process goes? People don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and then, I think about the third week after this last football season, about the third game, I got my call from CMU and they offered me my first scholarship. And it was,
what did that feel like?
It was so unexpected. I was with, I was by myself at home. I thought it was just going to be like a little.
You always home alone, Macaulay Cochran. You always home alone. I'm joking.
I thought it was just going to be a get to know you type of call. Because I had never talked to any other college coaches before that. And then the first one I talked to, he offered me, and it didn't even seem real. It was like it was a dream come true for sure.
I get it. Jody, I want to switch back to you and shout out to Kelly High McCord. That is the mother of TJ McCord, my co-host, TJ McCord Jr., just a great person all the way around. And people are sending their love to Jody and also sending their love to Kelly, too. People at Nicole are shouting out Kelly. Hey, also shout out my guy, Coach Marshall. Don't wish for it, work for it. Jody, talk about the fact that nobody really experiences recruiting. For you to have experience with recruiting, that meant that probably had somebody in your family that did something big or whatever now, but everybody is so far removed. And as a side note, I remember I was doing some work with USA Basketball, like they're under 16, under 17. These are guys who went on to Duke, but the parents was like, we were in rarefied air. Once we got to the point that we were elite recruits, there was nobody else they can really talk to because no one else was going through it. Like, who could you lean on? And real quick, shout out to my guy, Coach Keith Bates, King High School. You guys fought a hard fought. He said he loved his way the kid represented, well-rounded. You got all people looking at you, Malachi, appreciating how you get down, so you keep that up. But back to you, Jody. Talk about the inexperience most people have with the recruiting process.
Oh, my God. It's eye-opening. It really is how a lot of these coaches, they didn't play high-level ball. They didn't push anybody. They didn't help anybody
get the coach. That could be the coach. Their high school head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. High school head coaches. A lot of them didn't play high level ball. They had never been recruited and never really had anybody in their program be recruited, and so they don't have the connections. And it's really sad because now you're putting kids in jeopardy because of your lack of experience or connections. You might actually have a kid in your program who can go. You know what I mean? But here,
hold on, Jody, hold on. We got to rewind on that statement. Rewind on that. And again, we made the disclaimer earlier. We're not knocking nobody. We want to build relationships. But you just said, based on their lack of experience and contacts, they may have a kid in their program that can go to the next level, and they just not know. So can you kind of expound upon that for a second?
Yeah, and we see it all the time where, a kid will come through and nobody has actually like laid out any type of format or blueprint for them. And so by the time they do know something, it's like almost too late for them. So now they're rushing and they're trying to call people. They're trying to go do a 7-on-7 if they're a skill guy, or they're trying to get into a camp going into their senior year. It's just like, man, y'all so far behind the 8 ball at this point that, you done jeopardize, a kid's future opportunity because your lack of experience or lack of everything. We didn't have that problem at Sexton because when we were coming through, we always had people that was going D1, and our defensive coordinator, who is now, or he became head coach and now our principal of our school at Sexton, Coach Bogan, he played high level ball. So he laid out the blueprint for us, whether it was academically, like, hey, this is what you guys need to focus on when your grades. At the time, the clearinghouse, the NCAA clearinghouse, apply for the clearinghouse. So now you know what exactly.
The clearing what?
Right, the clearinghouse. Yep, to know what grade classes we're going to count towards your transcript in college. So it was already laid out. So, we didn't have no issues like that. But now it's so many people who are so disconnected, and then they won't even attempt to try to get any knowledge to help these kids. There's programs around here with solid kids, and they have nobody going to college. And if they do, they're paying a lot of money to go to that school. And it's like, man, like, now you're really setting the kid up, because here you got a situation where they're paying a lot of money to go to school. Their parents can't afford the money, they can't pay for them to go to that school. So now they're taking a whole bunch of loans out, and a lot of those guys don't even finish. They're done out of there, but 1 or 2 years financially. You know what I mean? Financially, they can't do it. And so there's a whole lot of education that has to go on amongst these coaches in the area, and there needs to be somebody that steps up and actually takes these kids through it, because there's just not enough at all, and there's only so many people out here that can do it. I know I always try to share information with people. I'm not a full-time coach anymore, so I don't have that type of connection with programs like that. But at the same time, it's like, man, there's more people around here that play high level ball that can be throwing their hat in the ring and helping out as much as possible.
Awesome.
But there's just not enough.
I just want to take a moment. We have a number of comments that I'm definitely going to get to. I want to tell everybody who are making comments, I appreciate it. It's making for a more fruitful conversation. I will get to your comments. And Malachi, I just want you to hold for a second. Jody, you said so much, but one thing I want to emphasize too, this might be a little uncomfortable to some people, but there's an ego issue and there's the ignorance issue too. And I'm defining ignorance as not knowing. I'm not the difference between ignorance and ignorant. I'm not saying you out of order, but that ignorance and not knowing. So what happens is I don't want to expose myself, Jody, that I don't know. Oh, I'm an assistant coach. I'm a head coach. I don't really know this process. I want to shout out Dave Jones, head basketball coach over at Eastern High School. Now, why am I bringing up Dave Jones? And I guess it's a great segue to Travis Neller's comment about two sports that we'll get Malachi back in. Dave Jones, Justin Christian, them boys show up. All them men show up to all these different coaching forums. Like my guy Horatio Williams, one of our sponsors. Shout out to Horatio Williams Foundation. They'll have a coaches forum in Detroit. You can always see Coach Jones there with a pen and pad. You can always see him at the B camp, just getting out there. And I think sometimes, tell me if I'm wrong, Jody, you're going to make a natural connection. You'll go out there and say, oh, you a coach at Eastern? Oh, I'm the coach of so-and-so. Hey, here go my information. Let me, oh, I heard y'all got a kid over there. Whoa, and now look at you. You plugging people. Let me get some of these other. Albert Matt, well, first of all, I got to shout out Terry McCord Jr. You know Terry McCord, Malachi? He's shouting you out.
Yes, sir.
Little bro, he ain't little bro no more. You bigger than him now, huh? Terry McCord is a great guy doing a great job with the SPS Edge broadcast and so many other things. I enjoyed the meme you sent me last night too, Terry, after the game. Wagner for the win. Shout out my guy Albert Mass, great young man. Albert was asking, he said he just watched this young man put Everett out of the playoffs, and if a college basketball coach has a scholarship, he needs to get one, no doubt. And shout out to my guy Thomas Superstar Cage. He said he represents himself very well to have Jodie. The insight speaks volume. Iron sharpens iron, and this needs to be heard. Well, I appreciate that as well. And also, Nicole wanted to tell Terry hi, so we want to make sure we got that. So getting back to that original question about two sports, again, thank you, Coach Travis Nella over at Waverly, also Coach Rod Watson over there. Talk about the decision to be a two-sport athlete, if it's just two. And then, Jodie, I want you to back that up because you talked about being the three-sport star. And nowadays, we got this whole specialization thing where some think and say you should just play one sport, or they kind of just want you to play one. Let me put it that way, compared to what you're doing. So talk about being a two-sport athlete and what that means to you, Malachi.
Well, from when I was, from a young age, my parents were just throwing me into different, any different sport they could find. I played soccer, I played baseball, I used to play tennis every once in a while. Like,
oh, wow.
It was just any sport, I can get into and try. If I tried it and didn't like it, I'd be done. But
tell me how you felt tennis has helped your game. I know it had an impact on your game.
It's definitely helping my footwork. I know that for sure. My hand-eye coordination, obviously, that's all been great. But it's been every sport I play, I feel like it's just been making me a better athlete. Whether it's been my footwork or my hand-eye coordination or my speed or my quickness or anything like that. It's just been helping me, to be a better athlete. I'm not a big fan of the whole specialization. I feel like if you play one sport, you better be the best player at that one sport. So it's just like, I only hear college coaches tell me that they like multiple sport athletes.
Wow.
So when it comes to that, if college coaches want it, that's what I was trying to do. And,
do you think there's some selfishness that comes from coaches that say, hey, I need you to make a decision. Are you going to be all in? And Jodie, you can add to that as well.
For sure, because if a kid's been playing football and basketball all his life, there's no reason to cut it off now just because he's a little better at football or a little better at basketball.
Hey man, we getting ready to get this season started. We trying to make a run, man. I need you. I need to know if you committed. Is that the comment, Jodie? That's how they put it.
Yeah. You can definitely say that. I've never been, one of those. You just in your mind, you just know that. At some point, the kid's gonna have to make the decision for himself. I got my my offer from Indiana at basketball practice. They came up
Talk about it.
They came up to watch basketball practice, and I called an alley-oop on one of my teammates, and they pulled me off the court right there. And that was it. And they was just like,
we gonna change your life.
Yeah, they was like, we gonna offer you right now, and that was it. Wow. And so that was they saw the athleticism, and then I thought to myself that give yourself as many opportunities as you can to not have your parents try to scrap up money to pay for you to go to college. This is one thing that I can do, that I can control to actually help myself and help my parents. That I don't have to, pay for school, and they don't have to try to help me pay for school and take out a bunch of loans. So that was it.
I got a question for you to follow up. One thing is that you got to always watch what you say. I had no idea Coach Dave Jones was listening in and me shouting him out. He was right there on it, unless he got a text or something like that. Shout out to Coach Dave Jones over at Eastern High School. And here's what he say: I love to encourage student athletes to play in multiple sports. I think that's what we got to get into now, man. You got to just be open to understand. Malachi, and also for you, Jodie, did you think that you were going to get, or did you want a basketball scholarship or a football scholarship? What did you think you were going to get, Jodie? And then Malachi, you can let me know too.
I didn't think I was going to get nothing. You know what I mean? I always tell people, I was like, listen, man, when I was playing sports, I had one goal, And that was whatever I did, I just wanted to be great at it. And I said, if I'm great at it, and at that time in that era at our high school at Sexton, if you were great at something at Sexton, then you were probably one of the best in the state. And so that
Shout
was
out
just
to Texan Big Reds. Yep.
so that was my goal. It's just like, man, just be great at something. And I was. So I tell people all the time I was the greatest discus thrower in the history of our high school, and the record still stands. And guess what? I got offers for D1 to go throw the discus in college. And then at the time, our sack record was 15 sacks. I broke that sack record and got 16, which made me at the time the greatest in sacks at our high school. So guess what? I got offers to go play D1 for football. And so, that was just my mentality. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have anything. I just said, I didn't say I wanted to be D1. I didn't say college. I just said, I'm playing, I'm in my element, and I just want to be great. And everything worked out for the best because I pushed myself to be great. And so, that's my advice to most kids is a lot of kids say they want to be D1. And like I said, for one, you got to look the part. You know what I mean? And then for two, you have to actually put in that type of work to be D1. I really get irritated, and I'll be real with you. I get irritated when
Jodie getting mad. Jodie getting mad.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I get irritated when kids they skip that whole process and say, I want to play in the NFL. And I'm like, man, I will slap you right now. Like, man, do you understand how hard it is to play in the league? You know what I mean? There is only 1,696 spots. Okay. That's not an easy thing to do. So don't tell me you want to play in the league if your work ethic doesn't reflect it. I said, come on, man, stop it. And I'm not a dream. I tell people I ain't no dream killer, but I am a realist.
I like that. I use the same term. I say I'm not a dream killer. I'm a dream clarifier.
Yeah.
So we ain't trying to do that.
Nah, man. Yeah.
I want to go back to you, Malachi, about the two sports, and that decision to do that. And Albert Mass made a really good point that we're going to follow up with after that as well. But tell me more about the decision. I mean, I think we talked about that decision, you to play the two sports and to keep that going, but also to follow up on Jodie's comments too.
So I had been playing basketball my whole life. It was just like football. They were hand in hand with me. And then, I made the B team my seventh grade year, and then 8th grade year.
Which sport?
Basketball.
Okay.
My school team, I made the B team, and then my 8th grade year, I didn't even make my basketball team at all. And then I come in my freshman year, I make freshman, and then my sophomore year, I'm on varsity. So it was like, like I said, I never stopped working. I may not have been the best. We were in 8th and 7th grade, but look, who cares about the 7th and 8th grade stuff? I got moved up to varsity, so I felt like I just kept on working at both. And I never really gave a. I was always working at something, always getting better.
So let's talk about that. You being a B team athlete, but now a Division I recruit. And I think people lose that, and it's kind of like to Albert's point that was right on time. Albert said, I feel like a lot of kids get discouraged when they don't end up D1. It's like it's a stigma to the next level if it isn't the top, and it's so weird to me. So even when you were like, when you made the B team, and it's not like all that, you still had this work ethic, and look at where you are right now. What do you have to say about that? And thanks again, Albert, for such a great question too.
Oh, well, to Albert's point, you got to be realistic with yourself. If you're, when you look at the main difference from Division I to Division II is the size. So if you don't like Coach Clemons said, if you're not looking the part, you got to be realistic to yourself. But I know kids that are going D2, D3 that are just as good as those D1 guys. So I do feel like that stigma with the whole Division I thing is there, and there's not a big skill gap between Division I and Division II.
I get it. We got a comment here from Kevin Keys. Kid is really well spoken, sound like he'll be successful, whatever he does. Yeah, everyone's singing your praises, and I think you're taking that to heart. Well, we're coming up at the 45-minute mark, and I'm not saying that we're going to end now, but I just want to be able to kind of wrap up the things we've been saying and kind of summarize this, because I think more importantly, not only we're giving Malachi his props, we're also giving so much information, Jodie. I'm thankful to you for that. So let's go forward. Let's project. Now, Jodie, we got scholarship. Mom and dad could turn this into a nice little 4-wheel drive vehicle to get him up to Syracuse New York. What
You're
advice?
gonna need it.
Yeah, you're gonna need it. Yeah, you're gonna need it. What
You're gonna
advice
need
do
it.
you have for Malachi or any other young man that's going to be making that next step once you get to campus? Because now we got the scholarship. Because when Dino Barber and those guys come, they're gonna bring that fire, that heat, and also too. Before we even talk about what to expect, talk about what your experience was like, Jodie, when you transitioned from one red to school to another. You know, you kept that going with the red and white with Sexton going to Indiana. But once you got down there as a guy they wanted, and talk about how they treated you and what the expectations were.
That's a loaded question.
Oh wow, okay, you real good with handling things. I didn't know I gave you a hot one like that.
Okay, it was hell.
Okay, all right,
absolutely, absolutely hell, 100%.
Wait a minute, these are the same people that said they loved you. They pulled you off the court and gave you a scholarship and said, "Man, we want you." What happened?
Man. Yeah, it was. Whew. You know, I had at the time my freshman year, my defensive line coach, and he kept it funky with me. He was like, you know, on my visit at the restaurant, he was like, you know, all of this, you know, that we got going on, you know, it is cool and everything, the dinner and everything for your parents. He's like, but I'm telling you, I'm not a nice person. You know, he's like, I'm not a nice person when
Now,
we
this
get
is
out
why
here.
this is they're recruiting you and you're on campus for a visit.
Yeah.
They haven't offered you yet.
No, well, they did offer me. I was already offered. I already had the offer at that point, but this was my official visit. All right, so they offered before I even took my official visit.
Hey, you notice Malachi leaned in on this one. All the other time he was back now.
Yeah,
that's why y'all can get that information, baby.
Yeah,
that's it.
So that was like, okay. He was like, you know, I'm not a nice person come, you know, 2 days. And I'll be honest, man, that first week and a half was brutal, man. I was ready to get out of here. I was like, man, I didn't sign.
Come on, you been through them bogan 2 days. You done had them hot summers over there off McPherson.
Man, I said I ain't signing up for this. You know what I mean? But it was just a different level of intensity. And then I always explain to people that when you come from Lansing, I always feel like we have a certain type of grit because we're from a smaller city and we're always seeking, you know what I mean? We don't get the respect of Detroit. We don't get this respect of Grand Rapids. So you got that chip. You got that chip on your shoulder all the time. So you always want to put your city on the map. You know what I mean? And so it was really tough for me, that adjustment. But, you know, after about 2 weeks, I settled in, I got into the groove, and then it's like it goes in stages. So at the time, and Malachi won't go through this ever because we used to have freshman camp. So before you had main 2 days, we had freshman camp for 3 days to actually get acclimated to college football.
So it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, but they got rid of that. And then it went to main camp where everybody was there. Sizing up everybody, you with the upperclassmen, and they treating you like you the little puppy or whatever.
Like you pledge in a fraternity, I bet.
You got to earn your stripes, and it is what it is. And then the way you earn your stripes is you punch them in the mouth on the field. You know what I mean? And that's how you earn your stripes. If they tell you if you happen to be on scout team and you going against a veteran, hey man, slow down, man. You turn it up another notch. Turn it up another notch. You know what I mean? In practice, like you got to push yourself because ultimately, if you have that mentality to dog it on scout team, you're gonna carry that mentality throughout your career. So my mentality was I don't want to be on scout team for my whole career. So I'm gonna make sure that I get kicked off of this team. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have to earn those stripes right away. And then once you get past a whole full cycle, which what I mean by that is you go to your 2 days during camp, okay? Then you go through the season. Then you go through winter conditioning. Then you go through spring ball. Then you go through summer conditioning, and then you're back to that season. Once you go through a complete cycle, you're a vet now. You're experienced. They can't do anything to you that has not already been done at that point. And so that mentality right there, after one whole year, it was smooth sailing for me. You know, I'll be honest.
Well, I appreciate that, Malachi. When you hear that, you know, talking about what your future is going to be, basically you are getting ready to go into some adversity. You're probably about to go into the most adversity you've experienced in your life, but it's all set up. It's like You did great in high school, got a great scholarship. You're going to the next level. It's going to be hard. So what do you think about when you hear that? And just mind you that people are going to be listening. Other young people are going to be hanging on to your every word based on the leadership that you're showing right now. What do you think about?
So one thing me and my family also decided to do was I'm gonna enroll early at Syracuse. So I'll be going to college in January. And so I'll still be 17 at that point. And so I know that it's gonna be a struggle to get acclimated to, but just like any other challenge in life, it's just you just gotta take it day by day, and learn from what's going on. Like Coach said, I know there's going to be times where I want to quit, but like I said, I think that for all the hard work I've been doing now is just making that part easier. So I'm going to continue to work hard, just to make that college transition easier.
That's great. I got one more question I want to bring up to Jodie and you both. Some could call it controversial, but we're well versed in that, and I think we would be doing a disservice if we didn't. What do we say to recruits that end up having to go hundreds of miles away to Syracuse University to play when there's an opportunity they could be playing right in their own backyard at a Michigan State or a Michigan? How do you respond, Jodie, or how do you tell guys to keep their head up if they're getting overlooked by a local school? And for the record, shout out to Coach Mel Tucker. That's my guy. He's just touching down. He actually made a comment in the press conference earlier that I think just speaks to it. He said, if we look at you and we're not convicted, when we look at you, we're moving on. And I think that kind of answered the question I had for whatever reason. That's not a slight to you, Malachi, or anyone, but how do you respond to that question, Jodie?
Man, another loaded question. No,
you do good. You do so good with loaded questions, man.
Yeah,
you're like juggling weapons.
Yeah, I would say, I was one of those kids who didn't have an offer on the table from either of the major Power 5 hometown schools, so MSU.
I mean, you probably were literally closer geographically to any other person because that was right up Michigan Avenue.
True story. And so, I didn't have an offer from either one or U of M. Maybe a little bit of interest, but no official offer. And that was okay. And my mentality was simple. I was like, you go where you're loved, you know what I mean? Or where you feel like you're loved. And that's how you have to make your decision when you're, picking a college. Said, hey, they didn't want me and that's okay. I said, but you know what? I'm going to see them. You know what I mean? Because I picked a school where if you didn't like me or you didn't feel convicted or whatever the case may be, over this period of time, you're going to know who I am. And I feel like they did. You know what I mean? So for me, getting that opportunity to play in Spartan Stadium a couple of times and coming home and having 2.5 sacks against them, I felt like, oh, they had to know me then at that point. And then going up to the big house and having 1.5 sacks against them in a game, you got to know, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I picked a school that I felt fit me anyway. And that's where you go with it. And Malachi may or may not get an opportunity to see a Power 5 Michigan school. We never know, but if he does, you want to make sure that you send a message always. No doubt.
Malachi, what do you think about that? And you learn a lot from your mentor Jodie about handling loaded questions, because the next thing is going to be what I didn't talk about is SPS. I have media credentials, so just as I'm interviewing a Coach Izzo or Coach Tucker or a player, I could very well be interviewing you with this kind of question. There'll be a kind of question saying, how do you feel that Michigan State and Michigan looked you over, or blah, blah, blah. They'll probably put it in a way that's a little bit more testy. Am I right, Jodie? Just to kind of get
absolutely.
some drama going. But I'm just curious to know, how do you feel about that? And what advice can you give to another player who may say, man, they overlooked me. You know what I'm saying? For example, quick example is Ethan Boyd doing a great job in his early enrollment right now with Michigan State. He was on his way to Cincinnati until Coach Tucker and his team came in and said, okay, we got to get this kid right here. But just how do you feel about the fact that you get this Power 5 look that's out of state compared to getting an opportunity and an offer to play here in your home state at Michigan or Michigan State?
Well, starting off, like Coach Clemons said, my mentality is, to go somewhere where I'm wanted. So in the first place, I'm going where I feel like fits me best. I'm going to feel like somewhere I can succeed at. And as well, Michigan State was not really somewhere I could see myself at. I'm just a little too familiar with the campus, and you know what I mean? Like I'm there every other day for something, driving through campus or something. So it was really never a problem with me that I wasn't getting that contact from Michigan State and Michigan. It's something it wouldn't have been a bad thing, of course, but I want to go where I'm wanted at, and that's in Syracuse. Is I feel like it's perfect for me.
Well said. I know that wasn't set up to be an interview type of question. What I'm going to do right now, man, I'm going to get ready to wrap us up. I do want to give you guys an opportunity to have some final words to share. I want to thank everyone who's made a comment, who sent the like and sent the love. We've consistently had support on this platform. But more importantly, I think it's something that can be shared and just can be educational. Not only is it going to be highlighting Malachi and all that he's doing, shout out to the Hope football program, the Hope basketball program, but also to Jodie and what he's doing. So, Jodie, I'll go to you if you have any last comments you want to make, and Malachi, I'll finish with you, and we'll get ourselves on up out of here.
Yeah, real quick, parents, support the kids, stay out of the coaches' hair, stop harassing these coaches. Understand.
That's a classic line. Stop harassing these coaches.
Stop harassing these coaches, man. Understand that it's difficult. It's difficult to be a high school coach. Obviously, you're not doing it for the pay, and so they couldn't pay you enough to do it. There's no amount of dollars. It's the time, the commitment. It's a whole year.
Not just the season, a whole year.
No, that's somebody's got to be in the weight room. Somebody's got to make sure they're checking in on the kids making sure they got their grades together throughout the course of the year. So lighten up on these coaches, parents. Another thing with the kids, just put in the work. Put in the work. Here you have a example of a great young man who had a goal, who put work in, and he's reaping the benefits of that. And stop being, as I like to say it, Instagram stars. These kids do a 10-second clip workout on Instagram, but then that's it, and then leave the gym. It's all for show. It's all for show. Like that, you gotta put in work and be consistent and put in the work. A lot of kids just don't have that mentality. You know what I mean? Get off Instagram, stop doing it for thumbs up and hearts, and start doing it and putting in that grind for yourself. And it'll come out on the proper end, the way you would like to see it. I won't say that you're going to get a scholarship, because I never promise a kid that they'll have a scholarship, but it will give you an opportunity to get a scholarship. Don't ever confuse your activity with achievement. All right.
Hold on, Jodie. You dropping another one for me, man. Hold on. Repeat that.
Don't ever confuse your activity with achievement. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means just because you're putting in work does not mean you're going to get a scholarship. It's just going to give you an opportunity to earn a scholarship. There's a whole lot of other factors that go into it.
Yeah, I think that's where I want to shout out Coach Travis Nella. He said, drop the mic. Your guy also told you to go get it. You got a whole community behind you. You notice, Malachi. So I'm going to go to you to give the final comments before we get on up out of here. Go ahead, Malachi. What do you have to say before we wrap up?
Again, I want to thank you for having me on tonight. And then also, to the kids out there that's, trying to get that division, that scholarship at all, keep working. You know what I mean? Regardless of what's going on at the time, keep working for the future. Because at the end of the day, hard work beats talent. So when it's down to them last scholarships, and you're the hard worker, and this is the kid that everybody loves, they want the hard worker. So just keep working hard, and have some fun with it. Have fun with that at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it is a game. So have some fun.
I appreciate that. Well, guys, this is Lindsay Hudson with Sports Psychology Solution. I want to shout out our sponsors, Horatio Williams Foundation, Dick's Sporting Goods, as well as Gilead Science. You guys are doing an amazing job. I'll let Terry McCord be the last comment you see. Oh, that's Michelle Ross sending hearts and all those nice little emojis. And Terry McCord say, that's Terry McCord Sr. I see you, Malachi. Proud of you, young man. That's my guy, Terry McCord Sr. Appreciate you. So with that, man, you go ahead, man, and keep doing your thing. We're going to keep following you and supporting you. Jodie, I appreciate you, man. Go easy on me next time you're down in the post, man. You got that drop step going, that sky hook, man. We can't defend that right now, man. But I appreciate you and what you're doing. So with that, see you guys next time, and appreciate you guys checking in.
No doubt.
Peace.
All right. Yeah.